They're born into mass-produced factories, where their only purpose is to be sold for profit. They grow up never knowing what it's like to feel loved or get a belly rub from a human. So these dogs become adults and live their entire lives out in the elements, constantly in pain, abused by humans, starved, and dehydrated. And that's why they say only bad things can happen in puppy mills. You may have heard of them before. These are mass-produced factories where dogs are bred for profit. Welcome back to our channel. Today we'll introduce you to a sad story about a puppy who was born in a puppy mill. This dog will never know what it's like to feel loved. But don't worry, because at the end of the story, we'll show you how this dog finally got adopted and was given a chance to start over. From the moment it was born, it was clear that this puppy was different. It couldn't open its eyes yet and had no idea it would soon become a victim of the cruelest game imaginable. As soon as the puppy opened his eyes, he saw dark and dank walls with bloodstains all over them. He didn't understand what had happened, but the mother dog knew better than to stay long. She licked her baby one last time and left him alone in that dark place. That was when the puppy's life really began. Although it wasn't much of a life, the puppy grew up in a small cage without ever receiving any kind of affection. At first, he didn't understand what was happening, but as time went by, he started feeling the pain in his body. His skin was dry and hard. He was extremely skinny and looked more like a skeleton than an actual puppy. But even though he was sick and hungry, the puppy still had hope that someone would come to save him. In total, there were 12 puppies in the same situation, but most of them died very young because the people responsible weren't interested in taking care of them. They just wanted to make money, so they only fed the puppies just enough so they wouldn't die. Meanwhile, the living conditions in that place were terrible. The floor was wet, and the air was full of feces and urine. There was also a strange smell in the room, probably due to the blood that had been left there for too long. Despite the difficult situation they were in, the puppies played and ran around their cages as if nothing was wrong. They didn't know what it was like to be outside, but they felt happy playing with their brothers and sisters. However, one day something terrible happened. One of the puppies bit another one, and then the owner came and punished them both. He took the puppy that had bitten the other and threw it against the wall, and that was when the little puppy realized that if he wanted to survive, he had to be careful and keep his distance from the others. It's hard to imagine that something like this could happen in our society, but sadly it does. In the United States, there are thousands of places like this where dogs are mistreated and abused just for money. To make matters worse, the owner didn't even take the dead puppy away. He just left it there to rot. So the surviving puppies started avoiding the spot where their brother had died, although they were too young to understand what had happened. As time went by, they became adults, but still no one cared about them. The only thing the owner did was bring them food and water occasionally. And since there were so many dogs in such a small space, it wasn't enough for everyone. Most of them spent their days hungry and thirsty, so they started fighting more often. At some point, the dogs stopped barking, and the owner stopped coming to check on them. He must have forgotten they were even there. And believe it or not, that was actually a good thing for the dogs. After the owner stopped coming to the puppy mill, some people came and opened the cages to let the dogs out. The poor animals started to explore the outside world for the first time in their lives. They had no idea where they were going, but it didn't matter. They just wanted to leave that terrible place behind. Sadly, the dogs had been abused and mistreated for so long that they had health problems and needed medical attention. Luckily, some kind people found them and took them to a vet. When the vet saw how bad the dog's teeth were, he said they should be extracted immediately. Their gums were red and swollen, which meant they had been suffering for a long time. Then the vet examined the dogs' bodies and noticed that some of them had skin diseases caused by parasites. The dogs had never received any kind of treatment or prevention, so they had gotten sick. After all the procedures were done, the dogs needed to be rehabilitated before they could be adopted. No one would want to adopt a dog that had been mistreated and had health issues. So the people who had found the dogs decided to take care of them until they were healthy enough. However, rehabilitation was slow and painful. Not only did the dogs need to regain their strength, but they also needed to learn how to interact with humans again. The person in charge of their rehabilitation spent hours playing with them to help them socialize. Slowly but surely, the dogs started getting better and gaining weight. As weeks went by, the day finally came when they were ready to find their forever homes. The news spread quickly, and many families wanted to adopt one of the dogs. Finally, after so much pain and suffering, they were going to have a second chance at life. Now let's return to the puppy from the beginning of the video. After spending almost a year in the puppy mill, he was finally taken out with the others. But even though he was scared and didn't know what to expect, he still had hope that everything would be fine. He was too young to understand what had happened to his mother and his siblings, but he felt something inside him telling him to stay strong. Luckily, he was adopted by one of the people who worked at the vet clinic. She took him home and introduced him to her family. At first, the puppy was afraid, but slowly he started to calm down. And when he finally felt comfortable, he discovered what it was like to be petted and feel loved by a human. He learned that not all humans are bad, and that some of them are willing to do anything to help animals in need. As time went by, the puppy grew up and became a beautiful dog. He learned how to play and be part of a family. And most importantly, he learned that he could trust humans. Sadly, the puppy never forgot about the other dogs he left behind at the puppy mill. Even though he was grateful for his new life, he worried about his old life and wondered if his brothers and sisters had also been adopted. After hearing this touching story, we want to remind you that there are thousands of animals waiting for their forever homes in shelters and rescue centers. If you can adopt a dog, please donate whatever you can to help them. Remember, every little bit counts. And if you enjoyed this emotional story, don't forget to share it with your friends and family. They'll love it. Thank you for watching. We appreciate your generosity and support.